Oh, now we continue with our coins, special normal coins. And we will start with the next in the series of the American Indian. Okay. Now this one is kind of interesting. This is the Mohawk Ironworkers. These guys are incredible. They would walk around on these giant skyscrapers, dozens, maybe even more than 100 stories above the ground, with nothing underneath. No nets, no girders, no anything to make sure that no harm came to them. If they took one misstep or got hit by a gust of wind, they would discover as the last thing before they go what an incredibly long ways down it is. These people just had incredible bravery. They would walk on there with the same bravery that you would walk on a 2x4 laying on the ground. 2015 Native American $1 coin commemorates the contributions of the Kanaki Mohawk and Akwesasne Mohawk communities to high iron construction work and the building of New York City skyscrapers. The reverse design depicts a Mohawk ironworker reaching for an I-beam that is swinging into position, rivets on the left side and right side of the border, and a high elevation view of the city skyline in the background. The design includes the required inscriptions: United States of America, $1, and Mohawk Ironworkers. So these are the usual alloys. Okay. The tradition of Mohawk high ironworking dates to 1886, when the Dominican Bridge Company started a bridge from the Kanawake Mohawk community across the St. Lawrence River. Mohawks were first employed as day laborers, but they insisted on working on the bridge itself, and supervisors were amazed at their ability to handle heights. The danger of the work was borne home in 1907 at the Quebec Bridge Project, designed to be the largest cantilevered bridge in the world. On August 29, the structure failed, and the bridge collapsed into the river, killing 33 Mohawk workers. 4 family names were wiped out. But after the disaster in the Kanawake clan, mothers ruled that large numbers of Mohawk men could not work in the same project at the same time. Ironworkers, now in crews of 5 or more and often related, were in increasing demand as skyscrapers, tall bridges, and other high elevation projects began to go up around North America. Crews from Kanawake and Akwesasne Mohawk community in upstate New York and Canada made the trek to New York City to build its skyline, culminating in work above the 80th floor on the World Trade Center Twin Towers. At one point, 1 in 4 Akwesasne men worked on high-rise construction. So this is talking about all of these people who just did this incredible thing working so high. They once again just have a note in there. Okay, certificate of authenticity. And now let's look here. This is the front of the coin, is your usual Sacagawea pattern. Again, now this is an enhanced coin, so they enhanced it by giving her a look very similar to that of a reverse proof, but it isn't a proof. So that's kind of neat. She's shiny, and so is the baby, and the background is this sort of a matte look. And then, for the other side of the coin, is the actual design itself. There he is, just standing on his girder up high, Mohawk, and just guiding that along, absolutely without fear of being at such a ridiculous height. It appears to be something genetic, where they really just do not feel the fear that most people would at such a dangerous height. So that's one coin. Now, the next thing we have is a series of presidential coins. They were cranking out 4 presidential dollars each year, and in 2015 they started with Harry Truman. Ooh, so has an interesting booklet here about some of his adventures and life accomplishments and background and so forth. So he seems to be a president worth talking about. And so anyway, he does a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to read the booklet. And then there's the thing itself. And again, all right, Harry S. Truman became president near the end of World War II upon Franklin Roosevelt's death. He oversaw the Allied victory and navigated America through the complex geopolitical post-war landscape. The Marshall Plan to rebuild war-torn Europe, formation of NATO, Berlin airlift, and Korean War all unfolded on Truman's watch. So they include a postage stamp with his face. And here's the president. And now here they do it in a reverse video. Look at that. That's kind of neat. Even his glasses are like that. It's like really kind of interesting looking. Harry S. Truman. In God We Trust. 33rd President of the United States. 1945 to 1953. There's also this Harry S. Truman medal. Now here, you have to pull the coins out to see the other side. So there's the other side of that. And so there's Liberty again in this reverse proof. So that's pretty cool. And although I'm not talking about these, or as long as we're here, we might as well look at this. Is actually just a medal, not even a commemorative coin. Harry S. Truman. And on the other side, there's the White House, inaugurated April 12, 1945, and until January 20, 1949. Well, that's when his first term as president ended, and he got elected again. So that's pretty much it. Certificate of authenticity, yes. So there we are. And that's only one of 4, because they have 4 of these each year, 4 presidents. And for this year, they decided to do these reverse proof versions of each of the 4 presidents coming out. So there's Truman. We're now doing Eisenhower. And so Eisenhower also had to kind of come along again. This is sort of his early life and other adventures and adventures he's gone through and what he's accomplished and his legacy and so on as he was president. There's also a Mamie Eisenhower first spouse gold coin. They let us see that. I like Ike. Yeah. And he's on the Eisenhower dollar they show there. So I'm not going to read it, but this is it here. 2015 Coin and Chronicles. Dwight Eisenhower. So Dwight D. Eisenhower was Supreme Allied Commander in Europe during World War II, leading the D-Day invasion of France and overseeing the total defeat of Nazi Germany. An immensely popular military hero, he was elected and re-elected president by wide margins. So, as American chief executive, Eisenhower negotiated the armistice halting the Korean War, inaugurated the U.S. space program, and saw the admissions of Alaska and Hawaii to the Union. So here we are again. This is a reverse proof. So there are regular proofs and regular circulation strikes of this coin, no longer being released to circulation, but found in mint cents and also available in rolls and bags from the mint for a premium. So here's our 34th president. It's fascinating to see this reverse proof. And again, the same reverse proof. Liberty, United States of America, $1. So there's that. And then for this, is the another Eisenhower medal. Dwight D. Eisenhower, there he is. This is just a medal used to commemorate him. Inaugurated President, United States of America, January 20, 1953. So that's when he becomes president. Okay, pretty cool. All right, so there's our certificate of authenticity. So then, after that, The next president, we seem to be getting into some fairly popular presidents, John F. Kennedy. Hey, he's on our $50, and now here he is getting a reverse-proof dollar coin. Again, his life, his background, his accomplishments, his struggles, his legacy, and so on. So, that's pretty neat. Again, I'm not going to read this. So, here we have it. Now, here we have a little bit about him. John F. Kennedy was the first president born during the 20th century and the youngest person ever elected. The youthful chief executive who put America on a path to the moon, Kennedy symbolized in his own word renewal as well as change. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, he coolly used a naval blockade to face down the Soviet Union. Kennedy's deft, measured diplomacy helped narrowly avert nuclear war. Mortally wounded while riding in a motorcade in Dallas on November 22, 1963, he was the fourth president to be assassinated. So here we have a stamp with his picture on it, and the flame, the eternal flame there, and the glow from that fire can truly light the world. Well, so 1964. And then again, another reverse proof coin, and a different picture of him from a different pose. There he is, John F. Kennedy, 35th president. So that's pretty cool. And of course, the usual reverse of the Statue of Liberty. Nice reverse proofs here. And then this is a medal, again, based very heavily on the same Gilroy Roberts image that they put on the $50, but here larger and, well, I wish I could say more detail, but there it is. Inaugurated president. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support, ask any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival of liberty. January 20, 1961. So there he was. There he is. Okay. And again, here's our certificate, authenticity, well, of course. And then one more president, probably the only one that's not quite so popular, was Johnson. Well, I guess he did sign the Civil Rights Act, so I guess it's had some interesting points. And yeah, a lot happened on his time, but the Vietnam War went out of control, and I don't know. At any rate, be all that as it may, he went from vice president to president when Kennedy died. And again, this is a book of his life, adventures, and so forth. And here is the actual unit itself here. Also has a stamp about him. So let's see what this says. Lyndon B. Johnson was the 8th vice president to become chief executive upon the death of a president. A master politician with more federal legislative experience than any of his predecessors in the Oval Office. Okay. Genesis sought to build a great society. He signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The most important and comprehensive civil rights legislation in American history. This and other laws passed during Johnson's presidency outlawed racial segregation and discrimination in many instances and guaranteed equal voting rights. So here we get now the coin and the medal, and once again we have a reverse proof of President Johnson. So there he is, Lyndon Baines Johnson. God we trust. Now he's the 36th president. Yeah. It's neat how he's so shiny and what's around him is not. So here's this Statue of Liberty sort of thing. And then, once again, a medal based on him. Also based on a carving by Gilroy Roberts. So he really captures the humanity of the people he does, the Gilroy Roberts. I really admire that man's work as a designer. So there we are, President of the United States. Looks almost like the back of a $50, sort of. Let's see here. We will serve all the nation, the united people with a united purpose. Lyndon B. Johnson. Okay, well, good slogan, and I guess in some ways. All right. So, here we have that, and once again, There's our certificate of authenticity. You always have to include that. And one more thing in 2015, and I think we're going to have to quit this just 2015 alone, because this has been a very busy year. And that is to commemorate the March of Dimes. So, the March of Dimes, of course, was Franklin Roosevelt's baby. He was suffering from polio and decided to develop this whole March of Dimes fundraising thing to create, help fund the research that took care of polio, developed a vaccine, and has made polio no longer the dangerous thing it used to be. So that was a huge accomplishment. And since the money had been raised by donations, here's our certificate of authenticity on the coin. Since it had been done that way, there was no charge for it. Everybody who wanted to use this vaccine could use it, and they didn't have to pay a royalty to somebody or other. They just had the use of it. Now we have our couple of dimes. Here's a regular proof dime, distinguished only by the fact that it was struck at the W mint. There's our W right there on front, and there's the back. A normal proof dime, except that it is struck at West Point. And another dime. And this is a reverse proof dime, also 2050. This one struck at P, Philadelphia, but it's nice to see how it's reversed. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. And here's there's also a commemorative dollar associated with this. And there it is. So, Franklin Roosevelt, and I assume that's Salk, the scientist who developed the cure for polio. March of Dimes. So, pretty impressive. And that's a perfectly good reason to commemorate him on the dime. Well, that's it for that.